Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 667 and Doubleshot number 571. Here are the last two trades that collect the second volume of Animal-Man. Here they are. Okay? Oh, I almost forgot to mention who did the artwork for this volume, for volume 3. It's done by several different artists. Steve Prue, Marco Rudy, and Timothy Green II. Yeah. Those are the artists for this thing. Yeah. Three of the artists. Also Andrew Babasser, Dan Green, Andy Owens, and Joe Silver. The cover art here is done by Steve Pollard, Laverne Korosky, who's the colorist, Jan Peruk. I've actually met this guy. He's a real nice person. And Nathan Farbach. Yep, that's who does this one. This one, all the issues are written by Jeff Lemire. This one collects issues 20 to 23 of Animal-Man Volume 2 and the second annual of the series. And was the last official one released before the series ended. The artwork in here is done by a couple of different artists on here. At least several of them. Steve Plug, Francis Porta, Charbel Foreman, John Pauline, Timothy Green II, and Joseph Silver. Yeah, this mostly deals with, well, this one, kind of the end of this one as well, kind of deals with the aftermath of what happened during the events of Rot World, with Cliff dying and the press getting in his face a lot. This is something that gets placed in this volume and the next one. He gets so angry at a particular, because he like after the funeral, because after the death of his son, him and his wife decide to separate, not divorce, just take a break from each other, just so they can grieve separately. And he sees that there's a tabloid magazine saying that they think his son's death is a hoax. He gets so angry, he tears at the magazine. Yes. I'm like, oh yeah, and there's something really weird, and he did this next volume as well, where apparently these dickish tabloid reporters produce big fat lies. I'm not sure what in the world Jeff Lemire was thinking when he wrote the press like this. Okay, now I've got to talk about this. This is probably by far one of the most shockiest things Jeff Lemire's ever done for this series. Taking a villain that I thought was so boring when he was written by Marv Wolfman, and yet Judd Winnick decided to kill this guy off, replace a different guy, because I didn't really care. I liked this guy's look. I didn't care for his dialogue. I don't think this is nothing against Marv Wolfman. It's just that he just made this guy boring. Who am I talking about? Brother Blood. Yep. Oh, and by the way, on Amazon, they promote Brother Blood as the Teen Titan villain, which I thought was so nice of Amazon to do. Apparently, DC just didn't care to promote the fact that Brother Blood is a Teen Titans villain. Yeah, that's something really dumb for DC to do. Yeah, and these two trades are kind of like one entire big storyline that involves, well, Brother Blood. And this one contains the final 4 issues of the series. Actually, final 6 issues. Yeah, 28 kind of wraps up pretty much everything that's going in the book since issue 20. Yep. Oh yeah, and also when they have it where Animal fights Brother Blood, yeah, there's a reporter who actually accuses Elaine. She's Animal-Man's wife, accusing her of saying she basically says, "Are your kids actors?" And she takes offense to that, so she basically gives him a haymaker straight to the face. And instead of, dragging the guy away for insulting her family, he presses charges against her. Now I get the fact, yes, what Elaine did was committing assault. But the guy deserved it because the guy was being a dick. Yes. Heck, even the cops agree with her, what she was doing. But he had to press charges. Yeah, this is something and also they even had like right after even this volume right here, volume 4, where just after the funeral, yeah, you had the press basically just saying asking these really stupid questions and very offensive ones about Animal-Man's family, and He calls them vultures and flies away. Yeah, that's why Ant-Man's ability, so he can fly away. One report he threatens when he turns his hand into one of the feet of a bird. Yes. Oh yeah, and also in one issue he dresses up as a superhero he plays in a movie called Red Thunder. Oh yeah, and also I thought this was really interesting for the comic to do. They have him where he's nominated for Best Actor for this one movie he was in. Yeah. Oh, and also, here's something interesting about Ant-Man. He's probably by far the only superhero in the DC Universe post-Flashpoint where his identity is publicly known. No joking about that. It's really true. I can't think of any. The only other superhero I can probably think of whose identity is publicly known as their particular character is probably Swamp Thing. That's really it. Unlike in pre-Flashpoint, I would say close to about 50% of this universe have identities publicly known anyways. But a large majority of them did keep a secret. Unlike in Marvel, if you look at Marvel, I would say about 90% of the superheroes who occupy that universe, their identities are publicly known. People know who they are despite the fact they wear masks. Of course, the only people I can think of who do wear a mask, who actually keep identities secrets, are two Spider-Man, Peter and Miles, Miss Marvel, the Sam Alexander Nova. I'm trying to think of who else. Silk. Yeah, definitely Silk. I know that the 616 Spider-Girl, as far as I know, her identity is secret. I'm trying to think, though. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, a large majority of them are. Small majority are basically secret. DC Universe, pre-Flashpoint, large majority of the characters were keeping identity secret. But I would say I would say close to about 25 to about 40% of them were identities publicly known. Ant-Man was one of them. And I'm kind of glad the fact Lemire kept that thing about Ant-Man is that he's publicly known. He kept that fact he had family, which I thought was really nice of him to do. And the fact that, well, he made this series so interesting to read. And that can explain why the fact that he kept the series as a New York Times bestseller, and yet DC ended the series after 29 issues. Why was the series ended? You really want to know? It's by far for a really dumb reason. They ended this series along with Talon and Batman and Dark Knight to do one thing. Make room for Batman and Turtle. Not kidding. That's the reason for the cancellation of the series. As far as I know, the series is probably selling really well toward the end of the run. And yet, for some reason, DC axed the series after 29 issues and releasing 2 annuals. Swamp Thing released 3 annuals before the volume ended. Of course, they had 40 issues. This only had 29. These are really great issues. The last issue is a nice little cute little story. It's kind of similar to what they did with the final issue of Luke Cage. Have a story, tell a story about, well, Animal Man reading a story to his daughter who, during the course of the series, she became Animal Girl briefly. Of course, yeah, this is something that they actually started back in the first issue, where apparently she basically was inheriting her father's powers. Yeah, she was getting the same power set as her father. And she even got herself her own costume as Animal Girl, which I thought that was really cute of Jeff Lemire and the artist to do. I'm not sure who designed his costume, but yeah. Now, overall, I want to give my opinion on the costume Ant-Man wears. It's a great looking costume. It may not be the costume that he wore during his first volume for the series, but it's a great looking costume. Mix of mostly blue with a little bit of white. It's a great mix. And the cover art looks like it's done by both these trades. This one looks like it's done by Jay Lee. I want to confirm that. Yeah, this one's called Splinter Species. The last one is called Evolve or Die. Yeah, interesting names for these trades. Okay, the cover art, yes, this one here is done by Jay Lee and Jun Chung. The final volume is done by, the cover art here is done by Raphael Albuquerque, who was also one of the artists of this book, along with Cully Hammer, surprisingly Jeff Lemire. Yeah, Jeff Lemire is also an artist as well. He doesn't do much artwork, and Trevor Foreman. I gotta say, overall, these last two trades are really good. Great storyline to pretty much continue the series even after the whole set with Rot World. My guess is Lemire had to do something because he just did the awesomeness that was Rot World. He's like, okay, we wrapped up Rot World. Let's continue with something else. Let's deal with the aftermath, deal with the death of Cliff Baker, have him fight a new villain, and I don't know if ever Lemire, I'm gonna ask him, like, okay, out of all villains for Animal-Man to fight for the last, 10 issues of a series, why in the world did you choose Brother Blood of all people? Yeah, that's one of the most bizarre villains for him to fight, and yet he made it interesting. He actually tried to overthrow the Red. He pretty much killed all the totems. Yeah, he killed all the totems of the Red, and he left one alive, though he died. And the Shepherd guy, who was the guy they met at the start of the series, of this volume anyways, and Socks, who was basically a reanimated cat, who was basically Maxine's pet, who was a totem, and they became the new totem. Basically, they took over as leaders the Red, and Anime made a deal with him. He would continue to act as champion until he dies, an important replacement who was not a member of the Baker family, because he did not want his daughter to get involved with this at all. Though she did kind of sacrifice most of her powers to bring back the character Shepherd. She has little powers left, and what does Ant-Man do right after this? He moves over to Justice League United, where Jeff Lemire continues to write him. My personal guess is the reason why he put him in that series, because he loved writing this character so much. He put him in that lineup, which was a great idea for him to do. I give both these books a 9.5 out of 10. It's really, really good. And overall, a great series. I highly recommend it. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I cover 2 more trades that kind of wrap things up with these particular 2 trade series, okay? But until I see you next episode, bye.